Good morning. It is Brian. I am back. It is the Art of Startup War. This is where we get incredible entrepreneurs who are breaking through. In this case, who have broken through and are just doing the same thing that they do pretty much every single week, and that's building unicorns. I got a great founder here already. He's got a fantastic history. He's done incredible things over in Africa. This is one for all you investors who are coming on here. You're going to want to see, and you're going to want to look at the journey and where Charles is going to. Um, Again, I always say this at the beginning of the podcast. Look, we are not promoters, we are investors. So we invest in companies, and this the reason for this podcast is for all other investors out there and folks who are looking to invest to have an opportunity to really listen to our diligence on a podcast so you can really get stuck in yourself with some great basic information in a kind of entertaining and fun way so you're not bored. Okay, so we got 30 minutes of greatness. I have a fantastic entrepreneur today. You'll understand why I say this in a second. Most of the time in the venture space, most folks will look and say, if you can find somebody who's built a unicorn once, oh my goodness, do you have gold in your hands? And that's what we have today. Charles from eBanqo, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, Brian. Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. How's things over in Africa? How's the weather? It is freezing over here today. I'm like an Irish guy in LA who feels like I've gone soft, to be honest. My dad would say it's not freezing, but it is bloody cold. How's things over there? A little bit later in the day, right?
Yeah, and it's quite warm. So it's 29 degrees here, which is in your temperature closer to 90 or a little over 90.
It's a beautiful thing. And I had your good friend Simeon from Thank You Cash over here at the office yesterday, and we were crushing through his stuff as well. It's good. All you unicorn founders and great founders, you all stick together, which I love. And today we're going to talk about eBanqo. And so here's the way the show works.
Okay.
All these folks are listening. We've got investors all over the place, and they just want to see the hero's journey, right? Rather than go through some kind of boring pitch deck in a podcast forward, they want to know, like, where did you come from? How did you start? And in your case, like, we have to talk about InterSwitch, but we have to talk about like the journey to InterSwitch and how you got there, and whatever you can share, like, gives people a flavor as to who you are. And then we're going to move in towards eBanqo in that hero's journey and look at how you're going to build this out, maybe lessons that you've learned from the last time around, things that you're going to take with you, and how we can show that this company is going to turn into an absolute monster. So the floor is yours, my friend. Kick us off. Where did it all begin? Before eBanqo, where did entrepreneurship start?
I started my career as a software developer. So I used to build software. And then from software development, I moved into consulting because I felt that consulting is my pathway into business. So I became a business consultant, built in technology anyway. And then I came across this opportunity to participate in InterSwitch. So my story in InterSwitch started 2 years before InterSwitch became a thing. So I was involved in writing the business plan of the company to say, okay, this is where the company wants to go to. And this was even a year or two before we raised the initial capital that the company needed to raise. Wow. So the company started, my initial role was everything that didn't have to do with infrastructure. So I was in charge of sales, marketing, product, and software. And it's quite interesting when I mention all of these things, and
it's everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that you haven't got in there is just cleaning the office, but you probably did that too.
There. Yeah, it was there. It was hidden there somewhere. It wasn't in the job description. So so we did that, and the company became an overnight success in 3 years. You know, it's they tell you it's an overnight success, but people don't know how hard you actually have to work. I used to tell the story of when I called the business in January 2023, when we just 2003, that's like 20 years ago now, when we just started. I call and I'm trying to introduce the product, and I have to spell out the name of the company. So in January 2004, I do the same thing, but it's a little bit better known. I don't really have to spell it out as much as before, but 2 or 3 years later, I call and you already know who I am, even before I say the name of the company. So those are the interesting journeys of building a startup. So fast forward 8 years after we started the company, we had grown to from the initial 2 million investment to over 100 million evaluation as a company, and we restructured from being one monolithic company to become divisional. So I now became responsible for the consumer business, which I basically did for the rest of my career there. So initially I was everything, and then I started focusing on the consumer business, which was literally new for us. So I was responsible for two main products. In addition to international expansion of InterSwitch as a company, but I was responsible for two main consumer products. One was a card scheme that competed against Visa and MasterCard. So that was another underdog story that I'll tell you another day. And we had another product called Quick Teller, where I was responsible for building a P2P business, a bill payment platform across the nation and the continent. And both businesses, or those businesses I was responsible for, grew astronomically until I got this new opportunity to start eBanqo. So eBanqo was actually started to fix the same kind of problem that we had fixed within InterSwitch ourselves. We had identified that customers don't like to be kept waiting.
And by
And
the way,
so
just so people know who are not everybody in Africa does not need to hear this, but for folks outside Africa, Interswitch was the first unicorn in Africa, right? Or the first or second?
it was the first fintech unicorn. So it was the
Yeah.
first fintech unicorn in Africa. So
Wow.
we Visa. So there's no better validation than when a company like Visa, as big as Visa, came and invested in the business. So we became a unicorn when Visa invested in the business in 2018. Yeah.
Incredible. Incredible. What a journey, right? And then so you came out the other side, you're 1 for 1 so far, which is pretty special. And then you're like, "Hey, you know what? There's a huge problem that hasn't been solved yet." And now you have this great 360 perspective to be able to come at the problem because you've already been, and I think this is also why investors love second time founders, especially when the first time you built something as huge as you did, because it's such a tumultuous journey. Like nobody can possibly imagine what you have to go through to get to that kind of stage. Not even your, especially not your family. And then, so now that you've done it once and you're going back with eyes wide open, you're ready, right? So, how did you feel when you, first of all, got the idea behind eBanco, and second, made the decision that you were going to go right back in again?
I would say it was scary, right? I didn't think I was going to do it again, but I think you have this entrepreneurial itch that doesn't go away. So when I decided I wanted to do something to solve a problem that I felt we were already solving within the switch at the time, it was to create a so we came to realization that one of the things customers really hated was waiting. And if customers hated waiting, so we built a lot of self-service tools within our apps, within our on our web platforms and the channels that customers have. But I realized that several businesses, banks, and other fintechs actually didn't have an equivalent tool. And it was going to be difficult for me to attempt to build something into each of their own platforms or each of their own channels. So to help them solve the same problem that we had started to solve, it was to come up with a model. So I was traveling at the time and I had a personal experience where I called the business. When I called the business, I called the business. I was on the phone waiting for over 20 minutes, and it didn't get to my turn. The following morning, I called again. I waited another 20 minutes, and you hear this: your call is important to us. Please wait for the next available agent. And then I spoke with someone and I spoke to the person for 2 minutes. What it dawned on me was that I spoke to him for 2 minutes, and it was very, very mundane from his own perspective. He fixed my problem in less than 2 minutes. And I asked myself, how differently would I have been if I could actually self-serve and solve that problem myself? And how would I self-serve it for that business and millions of other businesses out there? And that was when I said, let me take the plunge and attempt to do this. And that's basically the rest is history.
Incredible. And then so how did you then take it from, obviously you had resources. So you have already been through this one time already. And so you knew people and people knew you, and there was a high level of trust and belief in what you were doing. How did you turn it into that big vision where you knew it could become big enough to become a unicorn? And then how did you convince people to come on board? And talk to us a little bit about that journey from moving from idea to concept.
So when the idea came, the first thing that I did was to write it down. Right, I created a presentation to say, okay, let's assume, and literally created it from night to morning because it was really disturbing me. So I created a presentation on what this could look like, who would the customers could be, what value proposition should be, why they would buy it, and basically to convince myself that I should pursue this. And when I felt convinced enough, I pitched it to another founder and to say, listen, one of my co-founders in InterSwitch and another founder outside of the company say, listen, what do you think about this idea? And they were like, okay, this makes sense. I mean, I can see people needing this kind of solution. So I then went ahead to build an MVP. I mean, I'm a tech, but not. I mean, I was doing so many other things, so I didn't attempt to build it myself. So I outsourced it to outsourced developers in Asia. So it took them a couple of months and, of course, long nights with basically trying to build an MVP. And after building the MVP, I actually said, okay, this looked promising. So I took it to market. I said, listen, look at this. I started presenting to different sectors, mostly banks and fintechs. And what I realized was that the sales cycle of banks takes a while, but it was needed. And then fintech was slightly easier. But there were other, I just realized then that even though my initial thinking was that it was banks and fintech, there were several other sectors that needed it because our first client was actually a bank, but our second client was a health insurance company because it's a B2C business. And this health insurance company felt that I want my customers to be able to reach me. I want them to be able to report their interaction and their feedback when they go and visit providers. They want to be able to find the nearest provider before before they head to the hospital. They want to be able to find and get a pre-authorization. So all the things that they will have needed to call someone and somebody needed to be there 24/7, we basically helped them build it in a way that they didn't need. I mean, they had people 24/7, but only important things needed to go to those people. So it went from an MVP stage of building something and being sure that it existed, and then pitching it to people and people signing up. And then when we had two clients sign up, we literally then started to rebuild the real product. So I now hired people to build the real product. So it was now from having paid out of pocket to build an MVP to
And
now saying,
Charles, sorry, just when those people signed up, what did they sign up for? Like, what did they get when they signed up?
the bank got a chatbot that was available on WhatsApp. They wanted WhatsApp channel. They wanted a chatbot on WhatsApp, and what they wanted to use it for is digital banking. They were a revolutionary bank, so they wanted people to from WhatsApp open an account, and when they open the account, complete this KYC right from within WhatsApp. So upload their pictures, upload their KYC information, and then also perform transactions like balance inquiry, look at my last 5 transactions, request for a statement, open a second account, um, purchase airtime, pay bills, do funds transfers, all from within WhatsApp. So that's what the first clients wanted. And so we had built the foundation and we've now built on top of it to deliver what they wanted specifically. The health insurance company, on the other hand, wanted something different. They wanted something that their end customers and their providers are like hospitals and spas and people like that, could engage with them on and perform self-service as well. So for the providers, they wanted to be able to check in people, send customers their invoices at the end of the visit. For the customers, they wanted customers to be able to sign up, of course, buy a plan, find a provider, get a pre-authorization before heading to the hospital, and even report issues to them with providers that they have. So their requirements were quite different. So on their own side, they wanted it within their mobile app as a chat feature within their mobile app. They wanted it on their website. They wanted it on Facebook, Twitter, and on WhatsApp as well. So that's basically what we
You know,
gave them.
and I'll make a comment on this, which is really important for all investors listening. We at Expert Dojo are always talking about growth, and we're always talking about like getting a trust score and getting a brand score and getting an SEO score maybe and an influence score and a sales score. But actually, it all starts with the product fit score, because if your product fit is wrong, everything else falls apart. And product fit for me is the art of communication. It's nothing else. It's just the art of communication. And the reason that so many people get product fit wrong is because they speak to. And we had this great session the other week from one of our psychologist trainers who's an amazing I can't remember if you were there actually, Charles, but he's the FBI
I was there. I was there.
hostage guy. And what you're speaking to is exactly what he was training, which is so many people practice speak to, and hardly anyone practices listening for. And every single thing you're talking about here is they wanted, they wanted, they wanted, they wanted, they needed, they wanted. It was all about the customer. Product fit has to be all about the customer. You have to go through that grueling part at the beginning where you're digging into the real pain and enemy of the customer so you can understand how you fix it. And I think it shows an insight and a maturity to investors that are listening that cuts out a year, 2, 3 years of just pissing around, continually just blindly sending products out to the market and hoping people will like it. And then when finally they like it through the fact that you've just got rid of all of the other options, then you're happy. In your case, you go straight to understanding them. And I'm sure that process was a huge value to you then when you really wanted to build out the product for what it looks like.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I love it. And then so you had those 2 customers, you brought them in, you then went away and you're like, "Okay, now we're gonna build a product." So
Yeah,
you then went out and you started building a team, right?
that's correct.
What did that look like?
So I started with two backend developers, one front-end developer, and one front-end developer, and one designer, and one QA. So I literally put together a team of about six people immediately, and that's basically because we needed to build what we had promised fairly quickly, right? So because we had built the what we could show, but we needed something that could actually scale in production. So we literally took what we had built and customized it for these two clients initially. And I mean, so that was the first team that we set up. Now, maybe we shouldn't have gotten six people instantly, but when you want to move quickly, when you already have two clients that have already signed a contract with you, we wanted to move as quickly as possible.
100%. And you should, because time is the greatest enemy of startups. And by the way, for investors listening, it's your greatest enemy too. The longer a company is sitting stagnant, waiting, moving into a zombie type position rather than moving into a race car position, like the worse it is for everybody. And so the lovely thing here is you find out, you see what they need, you bring in the team, and you start building out the product. And at that stage, how was the growth, if you were looking at the build, the growth, and the investment process, how did they move in tandem or differently as you now began to evolve the product forward?
So the moment we signed the customers, we decided to look for investments at the same time, and so we started to look for investments, and we closed a friends and family round fairly quickly. I mean,
Sure.
we closed the friends and family round fairly quickly, and we didn't finish. So this was around. It took us seven about 4 months in total to take the product to production. So it took us 4 months to launch those two clients. So we gave them free of charge for those for 3 months afterwards because we knew that this was like a brand new product. The fortunate thing for us that within those four months, we signed up two new clients as well.
Yeah.
So what we were building that we launched at the 4 month cycle, we actually had four clients go into a free 3 month proof of concept before they really started becoming paying clients like 7 months from when we signed the first client up. And by
Wow.
that time, we had raised our friends and family round, and then we started putting things in place after that.
Wow. What a fantastic place to be. And then so you raise the money on the friends and family. You now have the team fully in place. You now have the 4 clients. When was this and how have things evolved since then?
So the problem was this was literally in the middle of COVID. So
Perfect timing.
when well, not really.
No, I know. I know.
Yeah.
The world had shut down.
Yeah.
COVID was like a time of warriors because whoever made it through that period of time, it wasn't that it was impossible to make it through. It was that you had to be very adaptable to make it through. You had to change processes on pretty much everything that you were doing. And so for me, it's a great time for investors because we really got to see the folks who could adapt to something that could never ever have been predicted and come out winning on the other sides. Please continue.
so why I say it was a difficult time because businesses were shut down, I mean, if we had launched our product 6 or 1 year before COVID, we would have been lots happier than literally launching when COVID started. So we were building a product, everybody remote, selling when every business was shut down and you couldn't reach anyone to sell to, and raising money at the same time. So we did all of those things in 2000 and in 2001, end of 2000 to 2001. And we came out, I think we had now built a solid product. We hadn't built up to where we are today, but we came out at that time with now having a clear product that we could now hit the streets once countries and cities started opening back up. So when they started opening back up in the later stage of 2021, we had these 4 clients, and we went from these 4 clients to 31 clients at the end of 2022. Now all from those 4 in mid 2021 to 31 at the end of 2022. So that's where we
Wow.
are now. Yeah.
And then how did you manage that growth? And how did you manage the growth of the product as well? So talk to me about the clients, like again, because that intersection of maybe one of the most difficult things, and again, this is your second time doing this, so you've done it already. It's not raising money, right? Raising money is not hard when it's the only thing you have to do. Right. It's not growth. Growth isn't hard when it's the only thing you have to do. And product development isn't hard. The problem is the 3 of them intersect, and every single one of them requires 100% of your time.
Yeah.
So what happened? You came out of COVID, especially this year. You're hitting last year. You're hitting 2022. You're coming out hard. Talk to me about like how you continued to build a product, how you did that along with the clients, and what were the specific things you did to get those clients on board?
So I'll answer the questions in 2 parts. So the first thing which was really to focus on the team. You needed to create a team that could handle a lot of things almost without you, with your involvement to set the direction and strategy, but you literally had to work very hard to create a solid team. And that's one thing I'm really happy for. We created a solid team that could run even when I was distracted with other things like trying to raise money and trying to sell at the same time. Because also at that time, I was the chief sales officer as well. We eventually hired 2 additional salespeople and a head of growth to now start driving some of the things I was responsible for. But I still drive most of the product direction because I see myself as a product manager first and
Yeah.
foremost at heart.
Yeah.
So the team was the first part of what I would say I'll describe as making sure that we sorted out. Then the second part, which is the customers, or I'll put the customers and the product together, is talking to customers and listening to customers. Because a lot of times customers will tell you all the things that they want. But I learned something from my previous company of always asking customers to rank. Right? So you go to a customer, you pitch a product to a customer, and the customer will tell you, oh, I want these 5 things. If I don't have these 5 things, I won't buy. I'll tell them, no, buy first. Well, after you buy, tell me the things you want, put them in order of priority. When you tell me the order of priority and I start speaking to other people, we would all prioritize together.
Yeah.
And even let's say we pick item number 1 and start to build item number 1. Before we start to build item number 2, we'll go back to those same clients and ask again, are you sure you really want this thing? Because a lot of times they would say they want it, time passes and they realize that they don't want it. They don't realize they don't want it anymore. So some of us just go ahead and start building. So that talking to customers is not just a one-time thing. It's to talk to customers over and over and over again and listen to the market, right? Not necessarily listen to competitors or what they are doing, but listen to the market, what customers are telling you. And those are the 2 things that are actually focused on to drive the sales part of it and to drive the growth part of it as well.
Yeah, and that's such a smart call. It's like there's a huge difference between what people want and what people need. It was so important. Mick Jagger wrote a song about it, so I think you got to do it. And then, so as you developed it, how did you got the clients in and you built your clients up? I mean, you're growing at what rate? What rate per annum are you growing? And then how does that grow going forward? And I also really want to dig into what the product offering is now. So as you've taken it from the beginning, where your product offering was very specific, you had WhatsApp, you had the other customer that had their specific requirements, to today, where the product has come to. I really want to dig into it because I want to see it as a percentage of how completed that product is against your vision of what it can become.
Okay, so on an annual, well, from 2021 to 22, we grew at 40%. 2022 to 2023, we want to grow at over 200% because we're coming from a small base. In terms of what the product itself is, it's the future of customer business engagement. We are convinced that right now customers love to engage with other customers via chat.
Mm,
Customers have come to this expectation that when they engage with anyone, it should be instant, it should be around the clock. So we're building a platform such that no matter what channel customers come from, they're able to engage with a business. So that product is like literally 100% done, but it's 100% done, but it's currently disparate, whereby one of our clients will say, come to us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Another client will come and say, come to us on web chat and all of these channels. We want to build proprietary channels that even aggregate all of these things together and make it possible for customers to be able to download an app, come to a website, and engage any business that they want to engage with. So basically, our own chat GPT, but for businesses, our own chat GPT for customers to engage with businesses. So not general information, but information about businesses that serve me. I want to engage with them and make it possible to chat with them and solve problems that I have with them when I have problems, get answers to questions that I have, and even upgrade things that I currently have with them, and even engage with other people. So from our core product, we'll say we've built what we focused on building, including getting people to be able to sign up to the product and start using it within 5 minutes. Of course, everything can get better, so we're continuing working on that. But that entire thing of allowing customers to self-serve, integrate to as many businesses as possible is the next frontier that we're pursuing and we're going after right now.
perfect. And then how did you differentiate yourself from the competition? Because there is now a lot of noise in the AI space and ML space. And even though it's not around customer service, it's around kind of everything. And there's
Yeah,
also so many businesses out there that are trying to provide dashboards, help, workarounds, all kinds of things. Again, not specifically what you're looking to do, but it's still noise. So
yeah.
talk to me a little bit about what who you see as competitors. We don't have to talk about their names, but like who you see as competitors, what you believe are competitive advantages, and how you stay ahead. Because if yeah, say that to me first, and I because I have another comment to make
Yeah.
afterwards.
So I would say our two main competitors or noise people that make noise in our field are CRM providers, businesses that provide CRMs, and other businesses that build chatbots. If you looked at my definition, we will never call ourselves a chatbot company.
No.
Yeah, we'll call ourselves a customer engagement company, whereby we basically provide a communication platform that in the future, any communication platform that's out there will plug it in and deliver that. So in terms of how we differentiate ourselves from the CRM providers, our platform comes pre-integrated to several CRMs already. So a CRM provider would say to use our own chat platform, you have to use our CRM. In our case, we say whatever CRM you have, we have 5 CRMs that are globally used that come pre-integrated to our solution. So you can use whatever CRM you have, or you could even use our tool as a CRM if you wanted to, if you didn't have a CRM. So we do not force you to use a particular CRM. I mean, so that's the first main differentiator that we
Huge.
have. Yeah. On the second area of chatbots, chatbot building, we see chatbot building as something that is going to continue to evolve and grow and grow and get better and better. So we would go from allowing people to have self-serve chatbots that are quite mundane to really complicated chatbots that we build and help them integrate to their backend systems to deliver services in the long term. And those are the two main areas on how we differentiate. Now, the product I had described earlier that aggregates every business and allow customers to find a business and engage with them and chat with them is the third thing that we are focused on doing as a main differentiator, because that really doesn't exist right now.
Incredible. And as ChatGPT has come out, it's obviously been a huge benefit for you, right? Because it's focused the entire world
Yep.
on, and the world of startup and investment is so funny. I sometimes lose all hope for investors. Excuse me for anyone listening in the future, because every time there's a shiny penny like ChatGPT, our virtual reality, our augmented reality, our Web3, they're all valuable, but not necessarily in that moment, right? All of the investors go running after them, right? And two things. A lot of the time, many of the ones they go after would be the wrong ones. But you also know the second point, which is that whether it's virtual reality, whether it's Web3, whether it's any of these things, they are the future. Like it's not like they're wrong. They're 100% correct. But it is about choosing the right companies to make sure that you're betting on the folks that can make it all of the way through. So I think the timing for you is fantastic. Like
I believe so
finally,
too.
we're at a stage where there's an acknowledgement and an acceptance that having a solution like this is way better than people trying to sort it out themselves. And the arguments of people saying, well, we should be on no, you can't. It's physically not possible. There are too many customers, too many things that need to be done, too many questions that need to be asked. It's not possible. And what will happen is you'll end up giving a deteriorating service because you're trying so hard to stay with the olden days. And I think like that would have been an argument even 5, 10 years ago, but I doubt if it's an argument at all with folks that you're speaking with today.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really like the timing of when ChatGPT came out. So within our platform, we have our own proprietary natural language processing tools, but we've already pre-integrated to Google's own, and we're currently integrating to ChatGPT as well.
Mm.
So at the end of this day, at the end of the day, all these things in our view are tools. They are tools to solve a customer's problem. So it's not really around running after the shiny new technology or the shiny new idea. We're actually running after solving the problems that our clients have and helping our clients to better serve and retain their own customers at the end of the day. So we're using all of these things, but our end goal of making sure that our customers and their customers are exceedingly happy remains what we do. Whatever tools we need to do, whatever things we need to put in there, we'll put in there. But I mean, I couldn't agree with you more that ChatGPT coming at this time is great because everybody is now interested in that space.
They're all focused there. Hey, has the journey been much different from InterSwitch?
It has been very it has been very different. Um, so I would say it has been different in so for the first 3 years in InterSwitch, I was literally crossing over from a core tech person to becoming a business person. So I was doing an MBA in entrepreneurship, right? I didn't know how to manage people. I was a lot younger. I mean, so many different things. Now this time around, it's very different because I have all of these things under my belt. I have a lot of experience. I know how to manage people. All the mistakes I made with managing people in the past, I'm sorry to them, but I have learned all that. So, and the additional credibility that I mean, I built a card scheme to compete against Visa and Mastercard that grew to more than 40% market share in our target markets and still growing very very successfully till today
Wow.
is a true testament, and literally grew really really, I mean, grew a business that started from 6 people to over 1,500 people before starting this one. So there's a lot of the difference is quite stark in literally how calm I am right now. How I mean, I went through a couple of recessions, if I call it that, in the last business. So we're currently going or not going into a recession right now, and just remaining calm and saying, okay, what levers do I need to pull to make sure? So I'm taking a lot of those experiences and those things that I have learned in that one into this new startup. So it's a very different I mean, approach this time.
Yeah, you just feel so wise, right? Because you're like, you ain't gonna get me again. You ain't gonna get me again. You got me the last time. You ain't gonna get me again. Once, call it a mistake. Two is gonna be foolish.
Yeah.
So maturity and just being wise, having gone through these, has got so much value as you go through it. And InterSwitch was kind of during stroke at the end of a recession. as well. And this one here is kind of during, like, this is such a wonderful time again to start up companies. Talk to me about, by the way, so here's the great thing, investors listening. Like, number one, as you're going through your scorecard of should you invest in a company, you got to be looking at the founder track record. You've got to be looking at the execution previously, obviously, is flawless. You have to be looking at the execution of this product. You have to be looking at how the product has progressed forward and would have been the blips. It's not always looking for perfect things. You're looking for stuff that hasn't necessarily worked as well. And then you have to score that. You should be heavily weighting this based on the decision because execution, for me, is the singular biggest reason why companies don't break through to any kind of serious sky high valuations. Then you got to be looking at the product fit and the timing and the market. And again, in this case, like it's not just so much noise around ChatGPT and everything else. It's also the fact that you have companies desperately needing for this. Also, you then look at the traction and say, what's happening within the traction? You're hearing about the increase in customers and how those customers are coming on board and what's happening with those customers. Then you nextly move to the next stage, which is the unicorn builder. You're like, great founder, great product fit. Everything is put together very nicely. What comes next? We're in 2023. The year is here. This is Charles's year. He's got his product ready. His rock star team, fabulous four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. They're all there. They're in place. They're ready to go to war for him. What happens, Charles? How do we take this now from being this phenomenal product with this incredible timing, with this great traction from the customers? How do we take it to explode this year, next year, and the following year?
So I mean, right now we're going in three fronts to get to our goal is to triple, and get to 15 million ARR in the next 4 to 5 years. So that's what we are working towards. We're focused on three main approaches. The first approach is via direct sales. So we still feel that the bigger clients will still need direct sales on an ongoing basis. The second area that we're focused on is, I'll call it marketing, partnerships, and all the things that actually will bring the small to medium-sized businesses. And then the third thing we're focused on is the market pool. So this is the one that we're going to keep on creating things that will make customers ask their own businesses, hey, I use this business, I use that business, I use that business. They have this wonderful tool that helps me to self-serve 24/7. Why aren't you using that product? So it's continuously build things that the end customers will demand of their clients so that the astronomical growth will come. And those are the things that we're focused on building. So the first two are quite traditional. And the third one is our main sweet spot that we're going to put a lot of our energies on. So even so right now, and this, I mean, 2023, our focus is still focused primarily on banks and fintechs, but 2024 and onwards, we'll look at other verticals that have already been slipping in, like the telco space, which we have some customers, the courier space, which we have some customers, and utility space, and say, okay, how can we even go deeper in those spaces to be able to explode and grow the pie on in those areas. So that's 2024 and beyond. So our goal is to grow pretty fast in the next 3, 4, 5 years.
Fantastic. I love it. And then, so I want to leave just the last minute or two here for you, Charles. So, again, we've established the experience, the execution, the product fit, the market, the timing. There's a great call. There's a great TEDx talk by a guy called Bill Gross here, one of the most famous incubators in Southern California, where he did this huge study on all of his companies, which is about like what is a singular differentiator for the companies that break through and build massive rather than the folks who don't. And funny, it was not the raising of the money, it was the timing of the market.
Timing,
The
yes, I know.
timing could not be better for you right now. It is
Yeah.
just nailed down for you. And the future traction based on the need of the customers has been thought through and has been executed exceptionally. So tell us, first of all, folks want to contact you. So let everybody have your email address, please, so they can catch you and they can make sure they can reach out to you afterwards. And second of all, just finish us with something. Now you got to raise the bar. Everything you've already like you've, we've already told them everything awesome that you're doing. You got to finish us with something inspirational about a
Uh,
world that you're going to create that never existed before.
Yeah. So you can reach me. My email address is charles@ebanqo.com. eBanqo is EBANQO. So charles@ebanqo.com. Send me an email. I'll look forward to responding. In terms of something inspirational, I would say no matter how great you are, remain humble and keep learning from your customers and keep getting better every single day, right? The fact that you have succeeded in the past doesn't mean that you can't keep learning even today. Now, in terms of where we're taking the product, finally, we're taking the product to where it will become the default product when a customer wants to reach a business. And our goal is to help our clients keep their customers for life, improve their retention, keep them extremely happy because they are reachable, because that is the number one thing that increases customer satisfaction.
Incredible. You are as humble as you are great. Charles, I appreciate you letting us invest in you. I appreciate you letting us invest you in the future, which we will continue to do. All other investors out there, you've got Charles's details. I don't need to say anything else. I think most of it's pretty obvious. As I said, we don't recommend anything here, but we do think we would have been pretty stupid not to invest in the first place. So hopefully that's a hint. Charles, thank you, buddy.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone. Catch you later.